Hello, everybody. Welcome back inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center for a rapid reaction presented by Buyers Auto. Yes, the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Yes, it's March. This is March. You know what that means, guys. Yeah. Spring practice is upon us. Ohio State just wrapped up spring practice number 1. It's in the books. That's the 40-year vet Tim May. That's Andy Backstrom. I'm Spencer Holbrook. A lot of ground to cover, fellas, as we talk to Ryan Day. We talk to Jim Knowles. We talk to Tristan Gebbia. Oh, yeah, we talked to Devin Brown, and we talked to Kyle McCord as well. The two leaders in the clubhouse to be the starting quarterback, the guy who is a coach in waiting, I guess. We don't know where, but a coach in waiting who happens to be playing quarterback, Tristan Gebbia. By the way, we got to watch 30 minutes of practice. So much to get to, Tim. If I can hold you to one takeaway, Tim, what's your biggest takeaway after the first practice? Yeah, we'll get to all of it.
We'll circulate back to me, right?
Yes.
I really liked Denzel Burke and Jordan Hancock running drills in the very beginning. You know, we didn't get to see a lot of practice, but we got to see a few drills, and those two guys matched up with each other in a two tandem drill. But then also Davis and Igbinosun out there definitely looking the part. I mean, Denzel Burke looks different, Jordan Hancock looks different, and Igbinosun, of course, started 10 games, I think it was, at Ole Miss a year ago. I think this cornerback room seems better than it was this time a year ago.
Andy?
Mitchell Melton back at practice, and we weren't really supposed to see him this spring. He was one of 9 players that Ryan Day listed that wouldn't participate, but it seems like he's going to be doing individual drills all spring. He's back at that linebacker position, which it seemed like he was going to be in that Jack Leo spot last year before he tore his ACL. He's had 2 straight season-ending injuries. Seems like if he can get him to be healthy, that they like to use him in that spot, that combo hybrid spot at linebacker D-end. And that's actually brings me to talk about something that Jim Knowles mentioned, which was that the Jack position is something they didn't use as much as maybe they thought they would last season. They said that they're going to have Jack Sawyer at the defensive end position this season instead of kind of flipping back and forth between the Jack and defensive end. He said that the spring is going to be about focusing on fundamentals. Eventually, though, he does want to still incorporate that Jack position.
Yeah, my big takeaway is on the offensive side of the ball. Oddly enough, I wrote offensive observations at lettermenrow.com. Go check those out for premium subscribers, which we're running a sale right now, $10 for 4 months, if I can squeeze that in. Andy has defensive observations. Tim will have full coverage of the Buckeyes practice here at lettermenrow.com. Head there for more. I'm going to talk about Dallin Hayden because this is a guy who I think the Buckeyes were apprehensive about riding last year as the running back injuries piled up. I asked Ryan Day about it. He said that yeah, he's got to still show a little bit more, take another step this spring. He looks like he's a lot bigger. The roster from the fall says 195. The roster today says 203. 8 pounds is a lot for a running back, but it's a good 8 pounds for Dallin Hayden. He looks a little leaner, but he also looks pretty muscular. I think he's made the most of winter workouts. And, you know, it's crazy that all 3 of us don't have any quarterback takeaways. We're going to get to the quarterbacks. But, yeah, I'm going to go with Dallin Hayden as my main takeaway just because if there's one guy who needs to step up on that offense, Travion Henderson's out for the spring. Evan Pryor's out for the spring. Dallin Hayden really caught my eye as a guy who could potentially make a difference this spring. And, you know, that could catapult him into a bigger role, into the fall. But, Tim. Yeah. It's all about the quarterbacks. It really is. When you look at this roster right now, it all starts with the signal caller.
Yeah, it does. Although I was gonna say it really starts up front. I mean, you know, Carson Hinsman, for example, you know, at center, Zen Mikowski out there at right tackle, Josh Fryer at left tackle. Those are the spots that need to be filled this spring. We'll see if in fact those guys hang on to them with Shabola is coming on, you know, at a tackle spot. So we'll get into that, I'm sure, some other thing. But, yeah, I mean, here's Kyle McCord. I was just reminding him, you know, halftime of the Minnesota game 2 years ago at Minnesota, season opener, you know, there were people on Twitter calling for it's Kyle McCord time, you know, because CJ had a tough opening half. That's how quickly fans get on you and get off of you. And just the pressure cooker that a quarterback here is stepping into. And Kyle McCord's always struck me as this low-key, kind of cool dude. I don't know if he strikes y'all the same way. Devin Brown, maybe it's because of his hair color. He's a little more fiery, you know what I mean, to a certain extent. But I think I think Ohio State's in good hands at the quarterback position because both of these guys have potential, I think, to be big-time quarterbacks. But you have to believe Kyle McCord has the lead going in since he's got a start and a win under his belt. You know, kind of like the way we saw Dwayne Haskins Jr., you know, and Joe Burrow way back when in 2018. The one thing that Dwayne Haskins Jr. had that Joe Burrow didn't was video of him winning the Michigan game. So there are all these little pieces that have to come together.
A lot of confidence in that room, though, Andy. Tristan Gebbia is confident that he can become a coach and can really have an impact on the room. Meanwhile, you've got two guys competing for the starting spot who both believe they can win the starting job, but are confident in the other one if they don't. I think it's an interesting dynamic in that room right now.
Yeah, they called it a healthy competition, and I think you can get the sense that these guys really like each other and they want the best for each other. Devin Brown kind of was asked to assess, scout himself. What kind of quarterback is he? He said he put himself between C.J. Stroud and Justin Fields in terms of his mobility.
Yeah.
He's not going to be. He said he's not no Justin Fields in terms of being able to run quite like he can, but he's also pretty mobile. But he said that they didn't really start until he moved to Utah and he was put into a run-oriented offense. He said before that it was a lot of behind center stuff and just more of the pro-style offense. So it's interesting that part of his game, which a lot of people talk about when you're differentiating him between Kyle McCord, really came along later than maybe you might think. He also said that he's put on some weight. He said he came into the program around like 180 pounds. Now he's around like 208, which he says he sits comfortable at and doesn't affect his running too much in terms of losing speed. He said it just makes him a more confident runner because he can actually take those hits.
Yeah, and here's the thing, but these guys have to fight. I mean, not fight, maybe it's the wrong term. You got to do, and I reinforce this every time there's a quarterback battle, and I've seen a bunch of them here. You've got to be able to show that you can run the play and do what the coaches want you to do. You know what I mean? Be almost that avatar guy before you can be yourself, in these kind of situations. And Devin is he can run just well enough. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, to make some things happen. I think Kyle can run too. When you pigeonhole these guys, sometimes it's not fair, but you have to differentiate between them in some form or fashion when we're talking about them, right? And but Devin does have that flash about him.
But here's the thing, like everybody wants to, like you said, Tim, pigeonhole these two guys on practice one. Oh, Kyle is such a pocket passer.
What even real football?
Kyle is such a pocket passer as if he's competing against Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
He's competing against Devin Brown, who is also a pocket passer. Both of them can move out of the pocket.
Right.
We watched it happen in the little bit of drills that we got to see today. Both of them were moving around. They look really fluid in what they do.
Kyle McCord's touchdown pass last year.
Yeah,
in the real game. I mean, to Jaden Ballard. I mean, that was moving out of the pocket.
Yeah, throw into some young receivers, getting guys active. Like both of these guys have what's needed, I think, to run this offense. It's just going to be who does it better. And so that's why I think Kyle McCord has the leg up right now, is just because this is his third year in the system. Ryan Day talked about it with Justin Fields. He talked about it with C.J. Stroud. How long does it take to get fully into the system? A long time. Kyle McCord is there. He's watched CJ run the offense. Yeah. He knows what a 2-year starter looks like doing it. So that's why I think Kyle has the upper hand. It was really funny. Again, piggybacking off what you said, Tim, I asked Kyle McCord, I said, hey, it's always fun to watch the highlights of the off-platform throws, the out-of-structure stuff, but at the same time, like, don't you have to be able to really hone in on and do the in-structure stuff really well before you can even get to that?
That's what we talked about a while ago. Yeah.
He echoed it completely. Like, you have to be able to do all of those little things in the pocket, especially with a quarterback, stickler like Ryan Day is.
Yeah.
You have to be able to get out and do things in the pocket before you can make those out-of-platform throws. We saw C.J. Stroud do it for 2 years before he finally went out of the pocket and did crazy things against Georgia. So I just find that talking point interesting, Andy, that
now,
these
quarterbacks. I wanted to interrupt you, so you went immediately to Andy there.
Yeah, because you got the last words,
okay,
and then I'll go to Andy, and then he'll come back to you.
I got you, man.
It's the flow of the show.
You could hear me over here, though. The engine was running.
Oh, yeah, it always is, Tim. And it's just interesting to me. Like a lot of people are pigeonholing these quarterbacks, but I don't think that's really fair or right to be doing it on day one of spring practice.
No, we ultimately really don't know at this point. Even when we saw Kyle McCord as a true freshman, he started one game against Akron, and let's be honest, they weren't rolling out the full playbook for that game. It was a lot of bubble screens and jet sweeps and pop passes, and I don't think we really know what these guys can do fully. And we've seen their high school tape, but that's high school tape. The other thing that was talked about and asked about to Devin Brown is, well, okay, you have this competition, and let's say you don't win the competition. Will you look elsewhere? Like, is this your one opportunity in your eyes that you feel like you need to win? He said, well, I feel like I need to win it, and it is an opportunity. But he said he's a Buckeye through and through. And now, yes, people can say things and change their mind, but I do think it's important to note that right now he's saying that whatever happens, he's here. He loves this place. He said that as soon as he got here, he felt like he fit in. He says he feels like he's even more comfortable now, just as a student, as a part of this program. And yeah, I mean, you get that kind of fire, as Tim mentioned, just a really good positive attitude. It's really palpable.
You got to remember, man, and he brought this up again, when he committed here to Ohio State, Quinn Ewers was still in the room, along with Cal McCord, along with C.J. Stroud. Who else was in that room? I'm trying to remember. But, went to Florida, Miller.
Jack Miller.
Yeah, Jack Miller. I mean, as he said, he was drawn to this. He was drawn to the competition like a moth to light. And I really, truly believe he's in it to win it, and he has some staying power there. But it's funny because what I like about Cal McCord, and I was talking to him about this, is just like you brought up a while ago, just the pressure of this position, of being the quarterback at Ohio State, what it means from the standpoint of what people expect from you immediately right out of the gate. And then number two, boy, if you meet those expectations, where it can take you. And so both of these guys know they're sitting on a little bit of a gold mine now. They've just got to mine it. And it's you have to believe, people keep asking me, who do you like? I go, well, I mean, I'm not, if I was handicapping it, just like we talked about a while ago, like you brought up, Cal McCord started a game here and won it. He's played more. You have to give him the lead out of the gate. But the race just started, really, in a lot of respects. But it's up to Cal McCord's. His responsibility this spring is to keep that difference, keep that differential, and we'll see if he can do that.
The interesting thing to me is so Alabama's replacing a starting quarterback, as is Georgia, as are a few of the other top contenders around the country.
By the way, it's going to be a subject on Urban's Take this week. We're going
good plug, Tim.
For the spring.
So we don't see Alabama quarterbacks generally up around the Heisman ceremony. We've seen running backs and wide receivers. Obviously, Bryce Young is the exception to that. And then Georgia runs an offense where if you can manage the game, you can run the offense. This is the program. This is the one program where if you are the starting quarterback, you are immediately a favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. And if you don't win the starting quarterback job, you are immediately a favorite to land wherever you were committed before you committed to Ohio State. Because that's the way that this place is. And so that's why on day one, we're standing here talking about a quarterback competition we have not really a good idea about yet. Because it's that important, not just in this building, not just in this city, but in this entire country, where whoever wins this job immediately signs up for an application to go to New York City in December, and the loser is going to have message board rumors about where they're going next. Yeah. So that's why the quarterback competition is where we start this show and where we end this show on a rapid reaction presented by Buyers Auto. Day one of Ohio State training camp in the books. It's done. The book is closed on that. Ryan Day spoke. Jim Knowles spoke. All three quarterbacks spoke. Full coverage of that coming at LettermenRow.com from the 40-year vet Tim May, from Andy Backstrom, and from yours truly, Spencer Holbrook. Again, $10 for 4 months. Come join us, hang out in the Letterman Lounge message board. Come hang out with us at LettermenRow.com, where we cover the Buckeyes all year long. Spring practice just getting started. We'll see you back in this very building on Thursday.